There are certain filmmakers that you just trust, and you know when they take on a project and you hear about them making a new movie that it is going at least on some level to be great. Certain filmmakers for me would be names like Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, Christopher Nolan, Greta Gerwig. How about Paul Thomas Anderson? Guys, the day has finally come. We have our newest PTA film, his 10th studio feature. You guys know all about it if you follow movies and award season because it's called One Battle After Another, and I have been talking about it for almost a year in anticipation. I finally saw it today with a good friend of mine, and to be honest with you, I don't even know what I'm going to tell you because my mind is racing. Welcome back to the garage. As I said in my cold open, we are discussing PTA's latest film, One Battle After Another. This will be a spoiler-free movie review. I'm just going to give you my general thoughts and discuss the performances, the screenwriting, the text, and of course, at the end, I will let you know, or as we go through the conversation, I will let you know how I feel this movie still stands when it comes to the Academy Awards race for next year. When their evil nemesis resurfaces after 16 years, a band of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue the daughter of one of their own. One of their own in this case is Bob, portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio, who is our lead. As I said, this being spoiler-free, I'll just give you generics that you can pretty much get from the trailers that have been released or any other promotional materials that are out there, which, by the way, the One Battle marketing team is straight up killing it in the last couple of weeks. I saw they just went on the Kelsey's podcast. I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio has ever even logged in to listen to a podcast, let alone go on one. Let's start with the general story and how the pacing was, how the kind of feels and vibe of the film were. And I will bury the lead and just tell you the answer is immaculate. It was an absolutely brilliant piece of filmmaking from PTA, which we really expect no less at this point. It's been 4 years since Licorice Pizza, which was his last feature, that I did enjoy, but that one would be probably around a 6 to a 7 out of 10. It was one of the lesser enjoyable entries in the PTA catalog, even though it was a really good movie. I mean, the guy's never made a bad movie, let's be honest. One Battle After Another takes a very timely, topical subject matter, and that would be immigration into the U.S. and the various immigration laws that have been incorporated in the last 10 to 15 years. All of that is incorporated in the first 30 to 45 minutes of the movie, setting this kind of political narrative and foundation to where you feel like this is not a PTA movie. This feels like it's going to be more of a drama discussing the politics of our legal system in America when it comes to immigration laws. It's told from a sympathetic point of view also, as we're basically following the revolutionaries in the film, of which Leonardo DiCaprio is a member of the group. You also have great performances from actors like Regina Hall and Tiana Taylor, who are a big part of the revolution also. We are also introduced after that first opening act to the teenage version of Bob's daughter, Willa, portrayed by Chase Infinity, who is a newcomer that I believe is a musician and a musical theater artist at heart, although I do know that she had a co-starring role in the Apple TV series Presumed Innocent earlier this year. I have not seen it, but I heard she's phenomenal in that also, and it's no different in One Battle. She really, really blew me away. We'll talk about the performances specifically here in a second, but I was a big fan of her performance. Now, once we meet Willa and she becomes a part of this story, which we meet her as a baby, it does time jump 15 to 16 years to where we get the Chase Infinity character portraying that older version of Willa. From that point to the end of the movie, it was literally check my pulse. I need to make sure I'm okay. The tension was heightened. The action was on a stratospheric level, especially for a PTA film, which is usually a little more subdued with occasional bursts of energy, but this was like a straight hour and a half of energy in the last 2/3 of the movie. I would really say there's two versions of this film. There's the version of the movie and the way you see the film, the lens that you see it through without Chase Infinity in it. And then there's another version of the movie with her character in it. They're happening at the same time, and all of those ingredients are vital to the way the story plays out before your eyes. But the vibes and the focus is very different versus when she's off camera, and I'm talking about the teenage version, versus when she's on camera. I loved all of it, but I definitely preferred her scenes and her part of the story, which is really where PTA leans into once we get that first kind of political setup and kind of the motivation of our heroes in the movie. Sean Penn's character, who for all intents and purposes is the main bad guy, the big bad in the movie, Colonel Lockjaw, which brilliant naming of a character. He's chasing them down. They're on the run. So the father and daughter get separated, Will and Bob, for that last 2/3 of the movie. So of course, fatherly instincts, parental instincts kicking in for Leo. He's trying to find his little girl. He wants to make sure she's safe, she's okay. Plus he's super paranoid based on this revolution that he was a part of. So you're going to get PTA at his best because he is intertwining various styles. And when I say that, I mean in storytelling. I already mentioned the kind of political aspects that we get. There's a lot of thriller elements to it, action for sure. I felt like kind of remnants of like Michael Mann's Heat in this movie, or even various Coen brothers films with that kind of like independent Western kind of gritty action drama films. You're also going to get that wonderful family dynamic, mainly through the father-daughter story that we get, which as a dad of 3 kids, I responded to phenomenally. It worked for me perfectly. I can imagine those with kids would probably give this an extra point or two just for that connection. When it comes to the craft of the film, in addition to that story, top tier. Top tier. I don't think it's as good from like a cinematography, score, production design, that type of stuff as a movie like There Will Be Blood, for example, or even Phantom Thread. Those might look better when you start factoring in the different technical crafts involved. But for the type of movie this is, where it's almost like not even a movie, it's more so like you're just kind of watching this episode of Cops almost, where you're watching like the FBI and the immigration officers like, you know, raid these different apartment buildings and businesses, and it's like you're just kind of watching that in real time for some kind of documentary that was filmed or some National Geographic show or something. The only other thing from a craft standpoint that I want to make sure I point out is me and PTA are very similar in age. I think he might be 2 or 3 years older than me. We were born roughly at the same time in the mid-70s. Grew up mostly through the 80s and into the 90s. I can tell this guy has got my Spotify playlist on lock. In fact, I should probably ask him to give me some kind of copyright because he was literally playing songs straight off of my dad rock playlist. It's also extremely funny. This is a darkly funny film for sure. It's got some really important messages in the movie. Obviously, we've been talking about the immigration storyline, but even when you're talking about race and dealing with race and various ways that certain elite or political groups will view various races, of course during immigration, but it also gets brought up for other reasons in the film, since Leonardo DiCaprio and Teyana Taylor were in a mixed relationship and Chase Infinity is a product of their relationship. So that comes up at various points throughout the movie too, but the way it is pointed out is hilarious because what the screenplay is doing, or at least in my opinion, is that it is painting those people as really kind of buffoons at how much in the Stone Age their mind is kind of locked into. And it's funny where you go, oh my God, people actually think that? But it also has an element of like fear and anxiety to it because you go, yeah, a lot of people do kind of feel that way. And there's definitely political and racial tension in our country and in the world. And it's no different in the way PTA painted it in this film. He just did it in a way that allowed the audience to kind of laugh at it and in a weird way kind of have fun with it. I do want to talk about the performances real quick, and that'll lead me into where I think we are when it comes to the Oscars race with this movie. So welcome to the party, guys. I mean, Warner Brothers started screening this for people about maybe 3 weeks ago or so while the festivals were going on. They smartly let people kind of see this thing too. And everybody's like, yeah, one battle, PTA is coming back to the Oscars. I've been saying that all year since March, really before that, but ever since I've been doing predictions. So I'm sticking to that. Nothing has changed. In fact, I'm solidified after seeing it. This is a 1,000% Oscars player. We're probably talking about 7 or 8 plus nominations. It's going to break the barrier of 7 or 8, and who knows how high it will go. I do think Leonardo DiCaprio is heavily going to be in that top 5 rotation for lead actor. What he does in this movie is a lot of the comedic relief that I was telling you about, in addition to some of these like ridiculous side characters that we have that are political themed. But aside from that, he's the main guy that we get a lot of those like anxiety, uncut gems feelings from. But he's also really funny at the way he decides to kind of handle it. I mean, I'm actually doing my top 10 Leonardo DiCaprio performances, and I haven't recorded that yet. I think this is in that top 10. It's probably one of his best, I would say top 5 Leo performances. And if you guys know, he's got a lot of great performances. He doesn't carry it alone, though, which I think is very important. The other performances in the film that stand out, they're all great, but the other 2 standouts in addition to Leo for me are Sean Penn, who is probably going to receive a supporting actor nomination, definitely in the mix for that, and Chase Infinity, the newcomer that I already mentioned. I think if there's a supporting actress nominee to come from this movie, if the wave is big enough and all these categories ride that wave to January when they announce nominations, if there's a supporting actress, it's Chase Infinity, in my opinion. I love Tiana Taylor in the movie. I also loved Regina Hall. However, both of their positions in the film are not enough. They're not on camera enough, but it's not even so much about screen time. It's about the impact that they have, their characters, to the overall endpoint. And between the 3, there's no refuting that Chase Infinity is a much more pivotal character to where we end up in the movie. I'm probably going to be inserting her into my top 10 for supporting actress after seeing this movie, because I think the Academy will be really impressed. I think she's 20 maybe in real life, and she plays a 16-year-old in the film. Newcomer. I mean, no credits aside from Presumed Innocent, the television show that she did in the last year. And man, I told my friend Kayla this, who saw it with me. You sit down. Chase, welcome to the set. So glad you got the role. Your agent did it for you. Oh, by the way, you're going to be sharing scenes with Leonardo DiCaprio today, and he's going to be playing your father. You have to have a lot of real emotionality with Leonardo DiCaprio. Also, after that, you're going to get into a verbal, shouting match with Sean Penn. And we need to believe it. She did it, man. I don't know how you meet that challenge. I'm not an actor, but I really don't understand it. She blew me away in this movie. You also have a phenomenal, just feel-good almost performance from Benicio del Toro in this. He was not in it enough either. He was only in a few scenes, but when he was on camera, as a bit of a mentor kind of figure to Leo, at least trying to calm him down at least, he was so calm. And it would be in moments when ICE is raiding the apartment building where he has refugees, and he's just like, it's okay, man. We've been battling them our whole lifetime. And he's just smiling. There's one scene you've seen in the trailer where the cops pull him over and he's dancing in the street when they're asking him to spin around and, put his hands on his head and all that. I mean, it's so good, so down to earth. And he brought that sense of calm to you as the viewer, just like he was trying to do with Leo's character in the movie. I told my friend I saw this with, PTA is one of those filmmakers that when I see his movies in the theater, which is almost always, when it ends, you feel something. Now, of course, you're feeling something as you're watching it too. So I'm not taking away from the experience of watching it. But when the credits roll in his films, and it happened again with this when I saw on IMAX, you just feel like you didn't want it to be over. And you just kind of sit there in a pool of emotion at the filmmaking that you just witnessed. And I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or over dramatic, but his movies tend to do that one after another. Sorry, I actually didn't even plan that. As you guys know, in scoring these films out of 10, I give you 2 parts, and then I will give you my overall score. I give you the craft and the crux. The craft is going to be all the technical categories. We already talked about a lot of them tonight. So anything that went into the actual technical part of the filmmaking, and that's going to get a 9 out of 10. The only reason I'm giving it a 9 is because it is not the best in terms of creative crafts from PTA. I think There Will Be Blood and Phantom Thread are probably his best well-crafted movies. And then the crux is going to be everything else, which is essentially the performances and how the movie sits with me overall. And that is a 10 out of 10. This is PTA at his absolute best. It is probably in his top 3 movies that he's ever made. And if I see this 2 or 3 more times, it may be my favorite PTA. I think it is the best movie of the year so far, and it's one of, if not the, we've got to make that list, best of the decade. The overall score for One Battle After Another, you probably guessed it based on that commentary, but it is a 10 out of 10. If you are a fan of PTA, if you're a fan of just movies and just cinema, right, then you are going to be fed with this movie. It is brilliant from top to bottom. Those are my thoughts on One Battle After Another. Are you seeing it this weekend? Have you seen it? And what did you think about it? If so, please let me know down below. And thanks for tuning in to this movie review, guys. I will see you soon because I'm going to be doing my top 10 Leonardo DiCaprio performances of his career, and I'm going to be ranking the 10 feature PTA films that I've seen. You can expect both of those videos in the next week in conjunction with this One Battle rollout. I'll see you guys then in the garage.